The broken weapon Marcus Chen wiped sweat from his forehead as he stepped through the twisted remains of what had once been Research Station Alpha 7. The humid air of Kepler 442b clung to his skin like a damp blanket, carrying the metallic scent of destroyed machinery and something else he couldn't identify. His environmental suit's cooling system hummed steadily, working overtime against the planet's oppressive heat. The station had been abandoned for 3 months, according to the salvage reports. Corporate had written it off as a total loss after some kind of containment breach. Now they wanted Marcus to recover anything valuable from the wreckage before the insurance investigators arrived. It was dangerous work, but it paid well enough to fund his daughter's medical treatments back on Earth. He activated his scanner and began cataloging the debris. Most of the facility's main structure had collapsed, leaving twisted metal beams jutting from concrete rubble like broken bones. Emergency lighting flickered sporadically, casting eerie shadows that danced across the destruction. The air recycling systems had failed completely, leaving the atmosphere thick with dust particles that made his scanner readings unreliable. Something moved in the shadows ahead. Marcus froze, his hand instinctively reaching for the plasma cutter on his belt. A movement came again, deliberate this time, not the random shifting of unstable debris, but something alive, something watching him. He advanced cautiously, scanner held high. The readings were strange, showing massive energy signatures from what appeared to be an intact section of the facility. As he rounded a corner, Marcus discovered a reinforced corridor that had somehow survived the destruction. Emergency lights bathed everything in red, creating an atmosphere that reminded him of old horror movies. At the corridor's end stood a massive door marked with symbols he didn't recognize. The metal appeared to be some kind of alien alloy, unmarked by the destruction that had claimed the rest of the station. A control panel beside the door flickered with alien text that scrolled continuously, as if running some kind of diagnostic. Marcus approached the panel carefully. His universal translator struggled with the alien script, producing fragments of meaning that didn't quite connect. Something about containment protocols and specimen security. He pressed his palm against the scanner, hoping the facility's emergency systems would recognize his salvage authorization. The door responded with a series of mechanical sounds, massive locks disengaging one by one. As it slid open, Marcus was hit by a wave of stale air that carried a sharp, medicinal smell. Inside, the chamber was larger than he'd expected, with high ceilings and walls lined with monitoring equipment. At the center of the room stood a cylindrical containment unit made of the same alien alloy as the door. Through the transparent aluminum viewing port, Marcus saw her. She was tall, easily 7 feet, with skin that seemed to shift between pale blue and silver depending on the light. Her limbs were elongated, graceful despite the obvious muscle definition that spoke of incredible strength. Most striking were her eyes, large and completely black, like looking into deep space. She wore what appeared to be the remnants of some kind of uniform, now torn and stained. She was conscious and she was staring directly at him. Marcus checked his scanner readings. The containment unit was powered but failing, its energy levels dropping steadily. Whatever this was, whoever she was, she wouldn't survive much longer without intervention. He found the unit's manual controls and began studying the interface. The alien text was clearer here, his translator managing to parse most of the instructions. As he worked, he became aware that she was moving inside the containment unit. Her black eyes tracked his every movement with predatory intensity. When he looked directly at her, she pressed her face against the viewing port. Her mouth opened, revealing teeth that were definitely not human, sharp, numerous, designed for tearing flesh. The containment unit's locks disengaged with a soft hiss. The front panel slid open and she stumbled out, her legs unable to support her weight after what must have been months of confinement. Marcus moved forward instinctively, reaching out to help her. She struck like a snake. Her jaws clamped down on his extended hand with crushing force. Those razor-sharp teeth pierced through his environmental suit's gloves and into his flesh. Pain exploded up his arm as warm blood flowed freely. Marcus felt her teeth grinding against the bones in his hand, searching for the best angle to tear away chunks of meat. He didn't pull away, Every instinct screamed at him to jerk back, to fight, to do something to escape the agony. Instead, Marcus held perfectly still, letting her bite down as hard as she wanted. He could feel her confusion in the way her jaw muscles trembled. She was expecting him to strike back, to hurt her in return. When the retaliation didn't come, she bit down harder, drawing more blood. Still, Marcus didn't move. After what felt like an eternity, she released his hand. She stumbled backward, those impossible black eyes wide with something that might have been shock. Marcus calmly reached into his medical kit and began cleaning the wound. The puncture marks were deep but not life-threatening. He applied antiseptic and began wrapping his hand in medical tape. "Are you hurt?" he asked quietly, his voice echoing in the chamber. "I'm not going to harm you." She crouched in the corner, watching him with the intensity of a cornered animal. When she spoke, her voice was layered with harmonics that made his translator work overtime. "You should have hit me," she said. "They always hit back. It's what they do." Marcus finished bandaging his hand and looked at her carefully. "Who are they?" "The Kithani. My creators. My masters." She spat the words with venom. "I am Zara 9, 9th iteration of the Shadowblade Project. I was made to kill, and when I could not kill properly, I was discarded." Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the facility's damaged climate control. "You're a weapon." "I was a weapon," she corrected. "Now I am broken. Useless. They kept me here for experiments, trying to understand why I malfunction." "What kind of malfunction?" Zara 9's expression shifted, becoming vulnerable in a way that didn't match her predatory appearance. "I hesitate. When given targets, I question. When ordered to kill civilians, I refuse. This is not acceptable behavior for a Shadowblade." Marcus set down his medical kit and moved closer, slowly and carefully. "That's not a malfunction, that's conscience." "Conscience?" The word seemed foreign in her mouth. "I do not understand this concept." "It's what makes you question whether something is right or wrong. It's what makes you care about others, even when you're not supposed to." She tilted her head, studying him with those deep black eyes. "You are human, from Earth." "Yes. The Kithani speak of your species with fear. They say humans are unpredictable, dangerous in ways that cannot be calculated." Marcus almost smiled. "We prefer to think of ourselves as creative." "Why did you not strike me when I bit you?" The question hung in the air between them. Marcus considered his answer carefully. "Because you were testing me. You wanted to see if I was like them, if I would hurt you back. And because—" He paused, thinking of his daughter lying in a hospital bed back on Earth. "Because sometimes people do cruel things when they're scared or in pain. That doesn't mean they deserve more cruelty in return." Zara 9 was quiet for a long moment. "The Kithani would say you are weak." "Maybe. But I'm still here and you're still alive. Sometimes that's what matters." She moved closer, her movements becoming less predatory and more curious. "Tell me about humans. Tell me about this conscience." Marcus spent the next hour talking while he worked to gather salvageable equipment from the chamber. He told her about Earth, about families and friendships, about the way humans chose to help each other, even when it cost them something. He explained concepts that seemed basic to him but were clearly revolutionary to her. Mercy, forgiveness, the idea that strength could come from protection rather than destruction. Zara 9 listened intently, occasionally asking questions that revealed how completely her conditioning had shaped her worldview. She had been trained to see all interactions as contests of dominance, all relationships as temporary alliances waiting to be betrayed. The idea that someone might help another person simply because it was the right thing to do seemed to fascinate and confuse her in equal measure. "The Kithani told me that emotions were weaknesses to be eliminated," she said as Marcus worked to extract a valuable processing unit from the facility's computer core. "They said that attachment led to failure, that caring about others would compromise my effectiveness." "What do you think now?" "I think they were afraid." Marcus looked up from his work. "Afraid of what?" Of what I might become if I learned to care, of what any of their weapons might become. She was quiet for a moment. They spoke of humans often, always with concern. They said your species had a dangerous influence on others, that you made them question their purposes. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. The facility's emergency lighting flickered, then went out entirely. Marcus activated his suit's illumination system, casting harsh white light across the chamber. In the new lighting, Zara 9's skin appeared more silver than blue, giving her an almost ethereal appearance. "We need to leave," she said suddenly. Her head tilted as if listening to something Marcus couldn't hear. "They're coming." "Who's coming?" "Hunters. The Cathani send them to retrieve lost weapons." She stood, her movements fluid and deadly despite her recent confinement. "They will kill you and take me back for reconditioning." Marcus felt ice in his veins. "How long do we have?" "Not long. Their ships are fast and they know this facility's location." Marcus gathered his equipment quickly, his mind racing through options. His own ship was small, designed for salvage work rather than combat. Against dedicated hunters, it would be useless. But he had something else, something the Cathani might not expect. "Can you fight?" he asked. Zara 9's expression hardened. "I am a shadow blade. Fighting is what I was made for." "But will you fight? Will you choose to fight?" She looked at him for a long moment, and Marcus saw something change in those black eyes, a decision being made, a line being crossed. "Yes," she said, "I choose to fight." The sound of approaching engines filled the air outside. Through the facility's broken walls, Marcus could see lights moving in the darkness. The hunters had arrived, and there was nowhere left to run. The human way, the Cathani hunters moved through the ruined facility with the precise coordination of a military unit. Marcus watched them through gaps in the debris, counting at least 6 figures in advanced combat armor. Their weapons hummed with energy, casting blue-white light across the twisted metal. Each hunter was tall and lean like Zara 9, but their movements were mechanical, lacking the fluid grace he'd observed in her. "They are not like me," Zara 9 whispered, crouched beside him behind a collapsed wall. "These are Blade-class hunters. No hesitation, no questions. They follow orders until they die or succeed." Marcus checked his equipment, a plasma cutter, some basic tools, and his salvage scanner. Against military-grade alien hunters, it was pathetic. But he'd learned something important during his years as an engineer. The most complex systems often had the simplest weaknesses. "What do they expect from you?" he asked quietly. "Submission. I should surrender immediately and accept reconditioning." She paused, studying his face in the dim light. "They do not expect resistance from a malfunction weapon. And they definitely don't expect resistance from a human." The lead hunter's voice echoed through the facility, speaking in the harmonics of the Cathani language. Marcus's translator worked to parse the meaning. "Designation Zara 9, you will present yourself for retrieval. Compliance will result in minimal punishment. Resistance will be corrected through pain conditioning." Zara 9's jaw tightened. "They speak to me like a machine that has broken down." "You're not a machine," Marcus said firmly. "You're a person making choices." "Human male," the lead hunter continued, switching to accented English. "You will surrender the weapon and depart. Your interference has been noted but will be overlooked if you comply immediately." Marcus stood up slowly, his hands visible, but not raised in surrender. "I'm afraid I can't do that." 6 pairs of alien eyes focused on him with predatory intensity. The lead hunter stepped forward, his weapon still lowered but ready. "You misunderstand your situation, human. This facility is isolated. No rescue will come. You cannot fight us and survive." "You're probably right," Marcus admitted. "But I'm still not handing her over." The hunter's head tilted, confusion evident even through his combat helmet. "Explain your reasoning. The weapon is not your property. You gain nothing from protecting it." "Her," Marcus corrected. "Her name is Zara 9 and she's not property. She's a person who deserves to make her own choices." "Impossible." Weapons do not possess self-determination. This one does. The hunters exchanged glances, their perfect coordination momentarily disrupted by this unexpected development. They had been trained to retrieve escaped weapons, not to debate philosophy with stubborn humans. Your attachment to the weapon is illogical, the leader said. It has no value to your species. Why do you risk death for something that means nothing to you? Marcus thought about his daughter, fighting for her life in a hospital bed. He thought about all the people who had helped him when he had nothing to offer in return. He thought about what it meant to be human. Because that's what we do, he said simply. We help each other, even when it's hard, even when it costs us something. Zara 9 moved beside him, her presence both comforting and dangerous. I will not go with them, she announced, her voice carrying new strength. I choose to stay with the human. The lead hunter's weapon came up. Choice is not permitted. You will comply. Make me. What happened next was unlike anything Marcus had ever witnessed. Zara 9 moved like liquid shadow, her body flowing around the hunter's energy blasts with impossible grace. She had been right about her nature. She was definitely built for combat. But as Marcus watched her fight, he realized something that Cathani hadn't expected. She was holding back. Instead of going for killing strikes, Zara 9 targeted weapons and armor systems. She disabled rather than destroyed, choosing to neutralize threats rather than eliminate them. The malfunction that had made her unsuitable as a weapon was actually making her more effective as a protector. But 6 against 1 was still impossible, odds even for a shadow blade. Marcus did what humans do best. He improvised. His plasma cutter wasn't designed as a weapon, but it could cut through most materials. He used it to destabilize the ceiling supports above the hunters, bringing down chunks of debris that forced them to scatter. His salvage scanner could detect energy signatures, so he used it to track their movements through the smoke and dust. Most importantly, he used his knowledge of facility systems to turn the environment into a weapon. The research station had been designed to contain dangerous experiments. Emergency protocols were still partially active, waiting for the right activation codes. Marcus had found those codes in the facility's computer core while gathering salvage. Now he put them to use. Emergency containment fields activated throughout the facility, creating barriers that separated the hunters from each other. Toxic gas suppression systems engaged, filling the air with harmless but vision-obscuring fog. Gravity manipulators designed to control test subjects began creating localized fields that threw off the hunter's movement. How is this possible? The lead hunter demanded, his voice distorted by his communication system. Humans lack the technology to control Cathani systems. You're right, Marcus called back through the chaos, but we're really good at making things work that shouldn't work. He had activated systems that were never meant to interact with each other, creating cascading effects that turned the entire facility into a maze of unpredictable hazards. The hunters' advanced training became a liability as they tried to adapt to an environment that changed constantly, defying all logical patterns. Zara 9 used the chaos to her advantage, striking from unexpected angles and disappearing before the hunters could retaliate. But Marcus could see she was tiring. Her movements were still graceful, but they lacked the explosive speed she'd shown at the beginning of the fight. There are too many, she said, breathing hard as she took cover beside him. Even with your clever tactics, we cannot defeat them all. We don't have to defeat them, Marcus replied, working frantically at a control panel. We just have to convince them that taking you back isn't worth the cost. What do you mean? Marcus activated the facility's self-destruct sequence. Not the explosive kind that would kill everyone, but the data purge protocol that would erase all research records. The Cathani had built this place to study their failed weapons, to understand why creatures like Zara 9 developed conscience and free will. If that data was destroyed, they would have learned nothing from their investment. Attention, Cathani hunters, Marcus announced over the facility's communication system. In 60 seconds, all research data will be permanently deleted. If you want to salvage anything from this facility, you need to stop this process. But you can't do that and capture us at the same time. The hunting party's coordination faltered as they faced an impossible choice: retrieve the weapon, or save the valuable research that had cost their people enormous resources. Their programming hadn't prepared them for this kind of decision. "You are clever, human," the lead hunter admitted, his voice carrying grudging respect. "But we will adapt. We will find you again." "Maybe," Marcus said, "but not today." He had been working on one more surprise while the countdown continued. The facility's emergency evacuation system included escape pods designed for different alien physiologies. One of them could be adapted for human use, and it was already programmed with coordinates for the nearest inhabited system. "Time to go," he told Zara 9. They made their way through the chaotic facility to the evacuation bay. Behind them, the hunters had abandoned pursuit to focus on stopping the data purge. Marcus could hear them working frantically at computer terminals, trying to save what they could of their research. The escape pod was cramped but functional. As they sealed themselves inside, Marcus felt Zara 9's hand touch his shoulder. Her skin was warm and her touch was gentle despite the deadly strength he knew she possessed. "Why?" she asked. "Why did you risk everything for me?" Marcus looked at her as the pod's engines engaged, launching them away from the facility and toward the stars. "Because you're not a weapon anymore. You're a person who chose to protect someone instead of hurting them. That's worth protecting. The Cathani will not stop hunting me. Then we'll deal with that when it happens. Together." Zara 9 was quiet for a long moment, processing this new concept. Together. I have never had a together before. "It's pretty great," Marcus said with a smile. "You'll see." Through the pod's viewports, they watched the research facility shrink into the distance. The hunters would escape, but their mission had failed. More importantly, they would return to their superiors with a story that would challenge everything the Cathani thought they knew about humans. "Marcus," Zara 9 said softly. "Yeah? When we reach the inhabited system, what will we do?" Marcus thought about his daughter, about the medical bills that would continue to pile up. He thought about the galaxy full of alien civilizations that might have their own version of Zara 9, weapons who were learning to question their purpose. "We'll figure it out," he said. "That's what humans do. We adapt, we help each other, and we find a way forward." Zara 9 settled back in her seat, her black eyes reflecting the starlight outside. For the first time in her existence, she was truly free to choose her own path. And she had chosen to follow it with a human who had shown her that strength didn't have to come from violence, that courage could be found in kindness. The escape pod continued its journey through space, carrying two unlikely allies toward an uncertain but hopeful future. Behind them, the Cathani hunters reported their failure to their commanders, along with disturbing observations about human unpredictability and the dangerous influence they seemed to have on other species. In the depths of space, new alliances were being born. The galaxy was about to learn that humans didn't just fight for themselves. They fought for anyone who needed protection, anyone who deserved a chance at freedom, and that made them the most dangerous species of all.